Kelly Drebro, President of Port Alberni and District Labour Council. Do you believe that trees harvested from the community forest should benefit the local economy by creating good-paying jobs using local labour for harvesting and value-added local manufacture? How would you, as mayor, work to make this happen?
That's a loaded question. Be careful.
I would definitely, I agree with value added. I agree with the concept of the community forest. I disagree if we're clear-cutting that forest. I think that's a very bad idea. We should be selectively cutting that forest, and then we will have wood in perpetuity, just like Merv Wilkinson had in his place in Cedar. Definitely those jobs should be local. That's the whole point of the community forest is. So I don't have a problem with that, and I would fight for that.
Thank you. Thanks, Kelly. I assume part of your question there is to do with milling lumber in Canada as opposed to sending it overseas.
Well, when you take a look at the export that's going out of this valley every day on trucks, endangering our families on these highways, let's keep a little bit of the wood here and manufacture it. How would you make that happen?
Yes. So what I feel is that we need to mill it locally. We need to definitely mill it in BC, not in China, not across the ocean. We shouldn't be shipping out raw whole logs. I don't understand the provincial government's policy of doing that, except that perhaps it's the easiest way for them to placate the big business owners in the lumber industry. So I think we need to work towards talking more aggressively with the provincial government so that our forestry is sustainable. And from what I see, from where I stand and what I know about the forestry industry, it isn't sustainable in the way it's being managed currently. So I think we need to make sure that it is sustainable though, so that it's going to last us a long time. Thank you.
It is fundamental to the people of the Alberni Valley that we have a forestry industry here. The whole premise and mission behind the community forest was to build a sustainable operation to employ local people. The only way that it should ever continue, I think we're talking here about milling it here, creating those value-added jobs as opposed to possibly exporting raw logs or taking raw logs out of our community. There's enough raw logs that go out of our community. We can see every time we see a raw log go out of our community, and I see that from my window every single day. The spin off that is 4 jobs in our community. And so this whole community forest, the premise behind it was for a sustainable forestry operation that would employ local people. And that's the way it should be. That's it, period.
Well, just a comment on forestry, because that's my expertise. So just on that, one of the problems that we have as far as log export is concerned, and I sit on that board with the Steelworkers Union. We got together yesterday in Vancouver because we're trying to change the way log exports operate. And things change pretty quickly because it's all about the economics in the world. And so what happened last week, the Chinese government stepped in. And the Chinese government said to the world, guess what? We're not going to give any of the people who are buying logs in China any more credit. So there's now 41 ships sitting in China full of logs that they don't have any money to buy. So right away the New Zealanders, they cut the price by 20%, which is probably good for us. Because now our local Canadians in British Columbia will be able to afford to buy these logs. So that's what it's all about, getting people investing in our community. So when I tell people come and invest in our community, invest in our industrial land, guess what they say to me? Your taxes are too high. Your industrial tax is too high. Do something about it. If you cut your industrial tax, we'll come and invest in Port Alberni. Because the wood fiber is right here in Port Alberni. If you ship the logs from here to Vancouver, you're paying $15 a cubic meter extra. For APD to buy a cubic meter of logs, which is a telephone pole, cost them $70. To buy it in Vancouver cost them $85. So this is the place where you have to do it. But we need new technology, not just added value. Because added value is happening in China and these places in the world. All the added value used to be here in Port Alberni and Somas is done in China. We need the new technology. what we can use wood fiber for. The new technology that they're taking place in Chemainus, that Western Forest Products is doing right now, where they're making engineered wood out of about fourth-class hemlock. I went to look at that facility. I'm meeting with Western Forest Products. We want them to come here and put that new facility in Port Alberni. It won't be the same job that you had before, but it'll be jobs. Western Forest Products put $200 million into new remanufacturing plants and upgrades. We want to make sure that they put it in this area where the trees are. Trees and fiber is important, most important resource that we have in the world, and we have the best. Nobody has yellow cedar and red cedar like we do.
Next question, please.
Hello, my name's Colin Fraser, and I'm hoping to be having an opportunity to address the new council in the new year regarding trade agreements. Mayor McRae was at the UBCM, and I have to keep this short. Basically, Maggie reminded me that one trade issue that has reappeared is bulk water exports. It hasn't really so much reappeared as there was a rather insulting editorial in the Globe and Mail that we should export water. I hope you know...
Your question, please.
Yes. How do you feel about the question of bulk water exports?
So this on that. So we have a free trade agreement with the Americans, where they seem to do what the heck they want to do about it. With this free trade agreement, they're going to charge you to go into the United States, $5 every time you go there, so that's a nice free trade agreement. There's new free trade agreement coming in Europe, and the Europeans are all getting together. And that free trade agreement is that we, as a municipality, don't have any right to do anything. If they want our water, they will take it. If they want our logs for log export, they will take it. So that's what we're concerned about. And working through our senior organization, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, we are fighting this, and we're working on this, and we're working with the federal government to make sure that doesn't happen. Because we've got so many great resources, not only in this area, but in Canada, the rest of the world wants. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen.
With trade agreements about bringing laws without adequate consultation to local governments, I think is a direct threat to local governments. Basically what's happening is they're taking our choices away. Water, specifically, is a fundamental right for everybody who lives in any country whatsoever, but especially in British Columbia. And I think that these trade agreements, some of them that are happening, there's one that's called CETA. These sorts of decisions that are being made without a lot of consultation with local governments and with the population of Canada is something that we need to work with our local MLA on to take to provincial government. And we need to get more local control and more support by fundamentally using the people who have a window of opportunity to work with those people who are making these decisions.
Thank you. I know we need to know about trade agreements such as CETA and NAFTA, other acronyms out there that we have to keep track of. My focus is bringing economies to our community. That's where my focus is going to be. As far as water goes, as far as any industry, any economy that we're going to get involved in, it has to be sustainable. And that's the bottom line, it has to be sustainable. And water is gold, and I'll keep it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
I have an answer.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
I'm absolutely against bulk water exports. I think that would be a type of exploitation of us and of our resources. But we are living in a world where the corporations rule, and that's the reality. We're under corporate rule here. And, you know, there's a graph that came out day before yesterday, I think it is, and the top 1% have made 275% more since the 70s, and the bottom group has made 18% more since the 70s. So we're living in very corrupt times, and that's a fact, and I'm sure you all know it. There's much more power in the corporate rule, but also in their bankers. And that's one thing that none of the panelists here mentioned. At the last city meeting, Pat Deacon pointed out to us that the lenders are not lending. And because of the ferry costs, we're also losing people who might want to invest here. But the lenders are not lending to investors who want to invest in Port Alberni. The banks have stopped lending, and that is part of the real big problem with going forward. That's why we have to look at things like cooperatives. That's why we have to build Vancouver Island as a sustainable island. We're going to have to depend on each other on this island. So, as far as water goes, you know, by 2025, 2/3 of the world will be water stressed. And China and all of these other countries that have money, they're coming for that water. And we know what climate change is doing: floods, droughts, floods, droughts. So the water is very precious. We're all going to have to rise up and protect it together.